Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about time management for research students. In my presentation, will have the following outline. First, I'm going to talk about the importance of time for a research student. Then I'm going to talk about putting things in order to make good use of the time during the period of research. Then I'll summarize the presentation. So let's get started. Every research that is actually done by a student at a typical institution like a university is actually bounded by time duration. And the duration usually depends on the study level, whether it's a bachelor's level or it's a master's level or it's at a PhD level. Usually for a bachelor's level, you'll be required to do a research for about 1 year. For a master's level, sometimes it may be either 1 year or 2 years, depending on the program. And for a PhD level, typically it may be 3 years, 4 years, or sometimes even in some cases about 5 years. So that is what it is. And at the end of the duration, the research that a student has to do must be completed or should have been completed. If the duration comes to an end and the student has not completed, then typically there would have to be some kind of extension. And these extensions come at a cost. Some institutions will charge you extra money for this. And even in addition to that, you as a student, because you're not able to finish on time, it may create a lot of inconvenience also for you. So it is something that must be avoided at all costs. So as a research student, you should always be mindful of the time being spent once you are in the research. Every day actually counts, and what you use the time for within the day, hour by hour, also counts. You need to actually ensure that you make good use of the time, that you maintain focus. And every day, a greater amount of time should actually be spent on working on the research. And as a student, or as a research student, you need to avoid side distractions, things that will take your mind off the research. You need to avoid these things as much as possible. And students who make good use of time in their research always finish by the end of the duration. And those who actually waste time or misuse the time, or those who do not account for the time, would actually find themselves in a situation where they will not have finished by the end of the duration. And this can actually create a lot of inconvenience for such people, and they can actually struggle for that. Self-discipline and organization is typically the first thing to do in trying to put things in order, so you can actually be efficient in using the time to actually do the research. And one important thing is that as a student, once you want to embrace discipline, you also need to be able to learn to say no to distractions, things that will draw your mind off the research. You need to be able to reject these things. And you also need to have a day-to-day to-do list or a daily list, that is made up of a list of activities that you are going to do within the day, because this will help you focus and it will help you keep track of the various activities that you have to do. And these activities, a lot of these activities must be related to your research. So once you're able to do this, on a daily basis, you can make progress gradually. And every single day, you need to dedicate a big chunk of time, a significant chunk of time to the research. Regardless of how busy you are, you need to dedicate time, because once you are consistent and you stay on it daily, then you can make progress and ideas can even flow better. And mostly, minimum of 4 hours a day has worked for a lot of people. And if you have more time, you can actually increase this particular time, to about 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, or beyond, depending on how much time you have in the day. The more time you spend on a day on the research, the better, because you will make progress much faster compared to somebody who doesn't really spend time, or who spends a small amount of time on the research. Always, you need to account for the time spent on a day-to-day basis. You need to have an accounting system, to check whether the list of activities that you made, you were able to go through them during the day. If you are not able to go through some particular activities, you make the necessary corrections and then you move on. And then in all cases, or in no matter what happens, you need to always strive to make progress with the research. And at the end, if you are disciplined enough and you put this discipline to action, you will always finish successfully. But if you leave things anyhow, then things will not be too good for you, and at the end, you can even become a victim at the end of the research duration. So in summary, every research has a duration, so time management is important for the research student. So the student must be able to pay attention to the time and what they are using the time for. And at the end of the research duration, as a student, you should have finished the research. If you're not done by then, you may need to have an extension of the period, and this extension comes with a whole lot of inconvenience, and sometimes it's also expensive because some of the schools will charge you for that. And the keys to time management for research students are discipline and learning to say no to distractions. Once you are disciplined and you're able to say no, or you're able to avoid distractions, you will make progress. And you need to also be able to keep track of your activities so you can account for them, so you can stay focused on the research. You need to have a daily schedule for the research, and you need to account for the time spent. And if you are smart as a student and you're able to put discipline into action, you will always finish your research at the end of the duration. Mind you, if you're unable to finish by the end of the duration, then a lot of inconveniences may come that you may have to endure. But you don't have to get to that point. Once you're able to be disciplined enough and you're able to make good use of the time during the duration, you would always finish before the end of the duration. So this brings me to the end of the presentation. Thanks for watching.